Okay, why dairy vet? Let's now, we're gradually approaching towards the end. Okay, in the old days, we had to suck our thumbs and decide and what the diagnosis was. Have to use our intuition, obviously, bit of training, advice from other colleagues. Not scared to phone and say, look, I've got this problem or that problem. Never be ashamed to do that. But today, man, it's exciting. I guess a lot, if not all, modern dairy practices have these sort of machines. Here's an IDEX VetLab system. So nice to use. And I'm sorry that I've retired so early when these sort of developments are coming into the veterinary world. I remember being an external examiner for a while and sitting in on some of the students being examined and obviously putting in a few questions myself. And I think it was Gert Rotenbach gave one or two students this question about, you are called to a farm and there's a cow that's been down for 3 days. And how do you go about deciding on your prognosis or what's wrong? And I think Gert was angling for, you must take blood and analyze it for, you chaps can probably correct me because I'm oldish and long in the tooth, LDH, would it be LDH? Very damaged. I think it's LDH, not SGOT or whatever. Anyhow, and I sat through feeling a bit ignorant about this sort of thing because this was cutting edge technology. Anyhow, and this student was, I don't know if he or she knew quite what the levels of LDH should be. And then, went through the possibilities of hypocalcemia and so on. And at the end, before the student came out, I said, no, wait a bit. You haven't done the most single basic thing. Has that animal not got a broken hip or a broken neck of the femur? Has she not got a dislocated coxofemoral joint? And I was frowned at by the professors there. But so with all these modern things, you've still got to use your basic thumb-sucking ground level knowledge. Of course, this is another great one. I mean, it's taken far over from the old rectals. I must tell you, this is my ultrasonic scanner, my left hand. I call it the Digi5 model. I don't even know how to turn on those ultrasonic scanners. Gavin and Rob are expert with them. But my Digi5 has been into, I had to count, probably over 1.2 million cows in my 45 odd years as a vet. And particularly, now this is interesting. When we go and are called as part of our routine work as dairy vets, a lot of them, especially nowadays with these high producing dairy cows that have got high levels of non-esterified fatty acids or whatever, is anestrus cows. It's a big, big thing. And obviously hormones play a big role in getting them sapling again, and all these ObSync and ProSync and what have you, all these different programs using different hormones injections at different times. And a lot of the farmers have said to me, when I offer that, they say, we couldn't be bothered, man, to give this cow these injections on this day, and then 2 days later you give it the next injection, 3 days later that injection. They just say it's too much. But however, they're going to have to learn that that's the way to go, because we're dealing now more in systems and not in individual cows. And that's been the big difference between herds that when I started, as I said, we're averaging 40 or 50 cows in milk, and nowadays they're 1,000 plus cows. So the farmers are dealing with systems, and cows that just don't fit in the systems, goodbye, ma'am. Anyhow, there's one thing I must say. By using a rectal examination, palpating the uterus and the ovaries, we have certainly I'm talking about myself now, we have a far better response rate to those non-cycling cows than just using an ultrasonic scanner and maybe using one of the various hormones. Now, I believe, and some of your senior lecturers in that, when I've chatted to them, agree. By the uterus, the uterine wall, you do cause the release of endogenous prostaglandins. And likewise, manipulating the ovary. Can't remember exactly which, but certainly the farmers invariably say within a few days of a vet manipulating them and examining them manually, they see a far better response and a better take to the next conception than with these hormones. Now, Chris, if he were listening, would shoot me down in flames, because I know industry, they're there to sell hormones and products, but this is genuine. This is an old bullet talking. Okay. Now, this is something which is also great. I think a lot of us older vets have got bad backs. I think at the when he took a tea break, his helpers decided to design humans' bad back, lower backs, lower spines, and they also decided to help the Lord when he was making a tea break, and they designed thoroughbred horses' lower limbs. Anyhow, we used to have to lie down, and it'd be part of each herd run, by the way. There, when you'd done the pregs and the post-calving checks and so on, then you do the hoof trims, and you'd lie the cows down, or you'd suspend the hooves from a rafter above if it was in a shed, and they'd be going backwards and forwards like a piston, and you're trying to clip these claws and get them into shape. But nowadays, this new band of men, professionals, well, all right, if you can call them professionals, tradesmen, the hoofsmiths have come along and taken all that hard physical work away from us. And most of them are very good. Let's make no mistake, they do that. But there are quite a few who do shoddy jobs, and the cows that come in go out lame as all hang, and they've just taken too much. They've cut too close up the white line or whatever. They cause bruising. And so as a vet, you've got to be involved with that. You've got to be friends with these hoofsmiths and have a chat over a cup of coffee and get to know them. And hoofsmith will come back and say, I was at Farmer Duplessis, and Ellie had a lot of hoof ulcers or strawberry foot rots or whatever. And so you as a vet now will come in and help and make diagnoses or suggestions to help there. So he's also part of our scene. Right, so in the old days, I love this song. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror. I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. And then the very last verse I love. Some folks say that I'm egotistical. Hell, I don't even know what that means. I guess it has something to do with the way that I fill out my skin-tight blue jeans. Okay, we weren't humble then. We had to do everything. We thought we were kingpins. That song, by the way, is by Matt Davis, as you can see, lovely guy. And that's why we ended up at the age of 45 looking like that, because we just thought we could do everything. And today we can't with these huge herds. So humility, this is Michael Ball singing, love, love changes everything. Faces in this clear blue sky, something like that. His words are like that. I've got it printed out, but I must bore you, especially with my bad voice. Love changes everything, how you live and how you die. But now I'd like to change that to say humility. Humility changes everything, how you live and how you die. So yeah, let's bring in humility and be humble as vets and realize we aren't the kingpins. We are maybe the main cog on a dairy farm. I like to think we are one of the bigger cogs, but we are just a cog for that farmer on his dairy farm, and a very proud cog, and a very important cog. And you must remember as well as I do, that final when we won the World Cup last year. The World Cup, as some commentator said, was won with that very first scrum when the Springboks shoved the English pack all over the pitch. And it happened again and again. And our Springbok scrum just dominated that match and won it for us. And of course, we capped it with those two brilliant tries, really. Even if you're not a rugby fan, it was really glorious. And the secret was the scrum. And what's the secret of a dairy farm these days? It's the dairy farm scrum. Okay. And I, being a number 8 in my younger rugby playing days, I believe the number 8's the most important position. Number 8, he looks up before the scrum starts. He cheers around, where's the opposition backline forming up, and so on, how close are we to the sideline, whatever. Anyhow, the farm owner in the middle there. Nowadays, by the way, a lot of these big farm owners don't even live on the farms. They live in these luxury estates and towns, because they are the business managers. A farm almost to them is an investment. And they will have a good farm manager. And these farm managers are brilliant guys, very often university degreed agricultural students, and wonderful guys to work alongside. And you get very close to them and their families, or the farm owner, if he's on the farm, get to know them. The economic consultant, terribly important, obviously, as part of the dairy farm scrum. I'll put him at tight head prop. The next positions are debatable, depending on if you're Rassie Erasmus or not. The nutritional advisor and the whole nutritional team, no matter what company they come from. They are obviously so important, because our dairy cows these days are living on such highly specific, high power rations, especially you guys that are going to be into I think the Western Cape dairy areas, where it's all total mixed rations and that no pastures. The chemical reps, I say chemical, and I mean the medical, pharmaceutical reps and so on, you have to work alongside them. You've got to get them on board. As I said earlier, they come into the practice, you take them to the back and have a cup of coffee or tea or whatever with them, even a beer if it's late in the day. And you work with them, because too many of these guys, and I say it with all respects to the pharmaceutical companies, two of them are, I think, frustrated non-vets, and they draw up these health programs. And unless you've got their confidence that they will come to you and say, look, I was on that farm and I think maybe they've got too much liver fluke. You say, well, we've got a test for liver fluke, either blood or fecal samples or whatever. We're next to you on the farm. Please get some blood and bring it to us. And then we might recommend your product. But don't shun them. They're very much part of your practice. And I was going to say something else in, but I've forgotten. But anyhow, they're great. And they usually give you very nice jackets and shirts and things too. There we come back to the hoofsmid. Men, they often feel inferior to us vets. No one's inferior to the next guy. They're just doing their jobs as best they can, as what we are doing our jobs as best we can. And get them part of our farm scrum team. And because, as I say, in the old days, the herds were small enough for us to do their work, but thank the Lord that they have come around onto the scene. And there again, my other flank, I sometimes played number flank, the semen company reps and the geneticists. And these days, with all this genomic testing and all that, it's a new ball game altogether. Maybe that's the wrong word to say. It's a new game altogether. And there's all these different bulls types and sex semen being used and so on. It's an exciting thing, and get involved with that. Make those chaps also part of your team and a friend of yours. And they were part of that Star of David. Remember, all these guys were. And then there's yourself. And you will be, and I kid you not, the farm owner and the farm manager will always view you as the sort of top advisor consultant. If you are honest and genuine, and if you do say sometimes, look, I'm a little bit out of my depth here, I'm going to get in touch with someone who probably knows a bit more about this field or this condition or this disease than I do, and get back to them soon. They don't like being kept waiting. I was very fortunate to go down into the Cape for a holiday. I was invited by some people into a lovely lodge, and this is Southern Cape somewhere. And I saw this lovely dairy herd. Of course, I couldn't resist myself. I walked from our lodge right on the coast to this farm, lovely rotary parlor like we have. But I walked through the pastures, and I was, as you might have learned earlier on, I'm grown over the years, intrigued with pastures and pasture management and nutrition. And I urge you to do the same. It's a lovely field to just be aware of. You don't have to be an authority or a fundi. And these are 5-way pastures. They've got 5 different grasses. And the guys I met, I must have spent the whole afternoon chatting to these 2 managers. And they said if they could find a 6th ingredient, they'd put it in there. Because each of these plants seem to spike at different times. So the plantain or the chicory or the clover or the lucerne or the ryegrass, they all have their turns. Incidentally, chicory is something that's a very interesting plant that's sort of hit the scene in the last few years. It's mostly used, its roots used for blending with coffee. But it's that long root goes deep into the soil, and when it decomposes, it's added organic matter deep into the soil, and it leaves a bit of a hole down where each plant is, so the moisture can get down. Anyhow, my couple of hours sitting in the office there, chatting to the guys about what bulls they used, what genetic, where they see themselves in 10 years' time, what their milk averages, what their kilograms of solids per kilogram of cow per hectare. These are all the sort of statistics and analyses that the different that have come in over the year. It's not just how many gallons per cow you produce, you are getting. It's now kilograms of milk solids per kilogram, per 100 kilograms of cow per hectare, that sort of thing. But don't let it confuse you. Soon, once you're in the dairy game, it'll just become, and it's nice to be able to talk the same language with these guys. And the most saddest comment they made to me, when I'd finished that lovely afternoon, I don't know how much coffee we flattened, was Dr. Todd, this is the first time a vet has come in and sat down and discussed our dairying holistically. Very, very sad. Because you can charge for that time. It's so valuable for them. And as I say, you get that credibility, geloofwaardigheid, I've never forgotten that word, and you just are rewarded with being part of such a scenario. And it was, as I say, so sad that the vets who come to them do their work, scan the cows, whatever, take blood samples, get analyzed, and off they go. They don't stay for that cup of coffee, the discussion, even a pasture walk, whatever, let alone going to the calves. This is terribly important because obviously that's your future herd, and discussing them. Yeah, it's all very important. And as I say, I was saddened by that. Anyhow, if you go down to the Southern Cape and practice there, it's a challenge for you. That's about it. Eh? That's what we do after our regular, because this is the thing about dairy vets. You get to know your clients because you're on that farm either weekly or fortnightly or at least monthly. And so you become part of the picture. You're part of that scrum. And this is the sort of scenario that you'll be in, whether it's a hoofsmith there and you there, or the economist there and the farmer there, whatever. That's the future. Why a dairy vet? Okay, let's just summarize. You've got an outdoor life with cattle, as have your children that you're bringing up. No nature deficit disorder in your kids. They're going to grow up to be fine people with their feet in the mud and cow dung and what have you. You've got this interaction with both down-to-earth stockmen, the laborers as well, Mamelodi Sundowns. You're dealing with the farmers who are now running big businesses. And you're dealing with other scientists, which keeps you up to date, and they'll exchange ideas. So I've summarized it on that line: intellectual variety. Oh, I don't know where this point has gone. Intellectual variety, which is great. It keeps your minds active. You're using your training in scientific as well as the practical experience. You're using that training. And that also is just so nice. And you're being an integral part of the farming economy in the bigger sense, the global sense. It's very satisfying to be you're a part of the farming economy. Yeah, I don't think I can say it more clearly than that. And you're being part of families, the farming, the salt of the earth people. You're being part of their lives and the greater community. And you must become part of that community. You must serve your turn on the school board or the squash committee or the farming association, whatever it is. You must become, and that's one of the rewards being a dairy vet. And then if you are so inclined, you will pursue your own business. It's a business. A dairy veterinary practice is a business. And that's where my generation lost out. I hate that side of my work. I have for 45 years because I felt so useless and inadequate. Gavin once, when he started joining us, he said to Peter and me, why don't we sell products and all this? And we were scornful and said, we're vets, not shopkeepers. But that was so naive of us. As I say, if we didn't have our outlet in retailing, we wouldn't have 3 vets. And it's very important that, and yeah, it's nice to be on a farm and say, please, you need 3-day stiff sickness vaccine. Please go into the surgery and get it. And or I'll radio the surgery now and ask them to put aside 1,000 doses or whatever. So yeah, if you're a little bit business inclined, this will be very rewarding. Will be indeed. Please do that. And try and attend these lectures or courses on that. And what I've also enjoyed, and I'm on it's a Facebook group, mostly small animal practices in the towns or metropolia, and a lot of them are complaining about what opposition colleagues have done or said, and so on and so forth. A lot of backbiting, which is so disappointing. And in rural practice, dairy practice, I and all of us, when we meet at these conferences and get-togethers, there is really a teamsmanship within us. There's a minimum inter-practice rivalry. So I said, these are the 7 benefits I've written down myself. I'm sure if I'd thought a lot harder, I could add some more, but I've left number 8. I've left number 8 for you guys who are going to become our next generation of dairy vets in, say, 30 years' time. You draw up your list and add at number 8 what the love and why you will encourage your next generation to carry on. So there we are, from Matthew 24:32 to 33. The signs of the times are all around us. Things are constantly changing and we need to adapt. And therefore, over to you, the next generation of dairy vets. Thanks. I hope you've enjoyed listening and watching this as much as I enjoyed preparing it. Thanks, Elaine.
Dr. Todd, thank you so much for your presentation. I must say, it is for a Friday afternoon, I must congratulate you because you kept my attention and there is still a lot of participants online. So thank you so much. I've got a comment here for you saying, wow, what a way to end a very successful week. Todd, it was such a pleasure to see and hear you. It was a trip down memory lane. Thanks for sharing your lifelong wealth of knowledge, experience, and life skills with us. You are a legend. and that was posted by Prof. Dirk Lawrence.
Oh, Dirk, thank you, man. Thanks, Dirk.